Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the shop. Today we are doing a complete frame disassembly on this Smith and Wesson CSX. What you're going to need, this is a no-nonsense video. I'm going to jump right into it. So what we're going to need a couple of, going to need a few punches here, a small screwdriver. I used a needle awl and a soft piece of plastic to get this thing apart and reassembled. So let's just hop right into it. First thing we're going to start off with is we're going to drop the mag, make sure the magazine is empty, make sure the gun is empty, physical check. And now the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do the regular disassembly. We all know, we're all very familiar with that. That's pretty straightforward. That's disassembled. You can remove the slide. The first thing I'm going to have you guys do is drop the hammer. So do not drop it while it's on captive, just let the hammer down. And then we are going to take and remove our rear grip strap. Rear grip strap is removed. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to answer some of the first couple questions for you. And if we look at this, what we're going to see is that this is more or less a card. So this is the entire fire control group, and this whole thing just slides into the frame here. We are going to take this apart entirely. So let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to actually look at is on this side. So this is this ambidextrous control. Toggle that up and pull it out. Once the toggle is out, you can, doesn't matter what you get in behind here, but there's a spring there. Slide this all the way to the rear position. Let me bring this down. Slide this all the way to the rear position. I'm going to use a little set of pliers, and when it's in the rear position, it can come right out. So now that thing's out, you can flip this back over onto the top, and what we can see is that now our trigger pin has been revealed. We can push that right out the other side, and now our trigger pin and our trigger is free to fall out. So now we've got our trigger right there. After that, what we can do is we can then, what we're looking for is actually located right down here. Okay, so we can see a toggle. This is our magazine. We can see that we turn this, right? So I'm not pushing in on the mag release, I'm pushing in on the spring side. We turn the toggle all the way up and it relieves, it becomes free, relieves itself. So that is now free. Get this back out of the way, bring this back down. Okay, so now what we can do is we can knock this pin out. So this pin is actually holding this card. It is not holding the magazine captive. What I'm going to do, I'm going to push down flat on the frame. I'm going to push down flat on the frame like this, and I'm just going to drift that pin out, and it is literally that easy. That pin just pops out of that side. We can just pull it the rest of the way out by hand, and now this entire card, now this is where you need to take caution. If this is in the up safe position, there is a safe indicator here, so we can see an F for fire. That safety indicator, if it is up, there's a little spring in here. We're going to see it in a second. It's going to go springing and sprunging all over the place. Ask me how I know. So now we can remove the card. So this is our fire control group that comes right out, and now our grip and our frame is completely free, other than this one, other than our stippling on the front strap. Actually, I meant to get to that a second ago. What I'm going to use is this piece of plastic. I'm going to drop that in there, and it actually kind of have to bear down on it because it's I have to hold it in such a way that I can push that tab forward, and then this whole thing just pops right out, and this thing just falls out. We set that off to the side. So now our grip is completely naked. So now there's no other parts in here. This thing is just so very light. We can set this off to the side. Okay, so now we got this. Now we've got our fire control group here all the way out. What we can do is we can just so this is a pin that's holding the mainspring captive. What I like to do is I like to push down on it. So I'm going to push straight down. I'm going to push straight down on this and then drift that pin out by hand. Now it is not very tight. It's not in there very tight at all. You can essentially just, it will just kind of fall out. All I got to do is put a little bit of pressure on it and that thing will just fall out. Now don't turn this off to the side because that thing will go sprunging all over the place, and don't hold this in there captive and then pull it out because that thing's going to get launched into a low Earth orbit. We can set that thing off to the side. There's a little top hat, our spring, our hammer guide. Okay, so now moving on to the front of this thing. So we can see here we've got our safety, right? So this is our safety indicator. If we pull this, we sort of just kind of pull this off to the side. Just gonna take this little needle. I mean, this thing will really pretty much fall out. All I'm trying to do is just keep it from falling out where I don't see it. So just let that slide out, and a little spring is in there with it. Those two are off to the side. What we can do now is, now that we've got access, we can see that there's a little pin right here. This has got to get drifted out. This can get drifted out in any way. This is not particularly held in there with a whole lot of spring pressure, right? This is our safety. We can drift this out as well. So there's another pin here. We can see the other side of it. That is free. That's open. Okay. And what we're going to end up with here is we're going to end up with our sear. We want to do this with it facing up like this. So the sear comes out. There's a spring behind it. There is this plunger safety. And then there is inside of here, right here, there is a plunger. So we want to make sure that we don't lose that plunger. Okay, so now that we got this thing all apart, the biggest question is how the heck do we get these things apart? You might think to go banging on this thing. That's not the case. What we have on top here, we can sort of just see, is that this is this is in two pieces. So we can see these two parts. If I pick this tab up, we can see this tab pops up. So this tab, this is essentially a C-clip. So we can see the tab here. This is essentially, all this is the end of a C-clip. What we want to do is we want to pull that thing out, and then our two safety latches will come apart. Now, this is our extractor. Our ejector, my bad. So we've got our ejector out. This spring is just sitting in here. I like to pull it out just because I'd rather not flip this thing over and then end up losing the part. So all we got to do, it's coming. All we got to do is just kind of wiggle it. Just give it a little tug and that thing will pop right out. Okay, so now that that's done, what we need to be cautious of is that this goes to that little safety. This is the cam for that safety indicator. Actually, our pin, that's our hammer pin, fell right out the backside. Hammer can come right out, and the toggle cam for that safety indicator is right there. So that is the full and complete disassembly of this Smith and Wesson CSX frame. We'll just do this in double time on the way back, but putting this thing back together, once we get up here to these, you'll want to wait till the end of the video because this is a little tricky. Okay. Okay, so I want to pick back up to right about here. So this is where it can get a little tricky for reassembly. So what you want to do is you want to put the trigger back in. Set the trigger back down on the inside, so the trigger's there, and then we're going to drop this pin. We want to get that pin put in, and we're just going to move the trigger around until we can. There's really not a whole lot of mystery there, just a little bit of finesse. Important to note, I'm using brass punches for some of this stuff. Okay, so now when we go to redo this is the only time that we're going to need that. The only reason why I needed a steel punch is just because I was bending the brass. You can actually see there's a little bent there. I was bending the brass one trying to get it, trying to put that back in. So if anybody else develops a better way to do this particular, what I'm about to do, this particular thing, please let me know, because I don't, this is the best way that I got to do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop this back in with a little tab down. I need to use a pair of pliers in order to do it. I know you can't see it through my hands, but we're just dropping it back in on the top, right? So it slides. We can see that it's sliding. And then we're going to take our spring and guide it underneath there. And I just bend it forward with my nail, just so we can get it kind of pointing, in the right direction, and then just slide that whole thing back in. So now when we got that back in, so now what I do is I hold this, I start to punch, bring this way down, and I'm going to mess this up at least twice. So I start to punch, yep, there's one. So I start to punch probably about 3/4 of the way up that, and then all I'm doing is I'm just pulling it over like this. Yep. See, this is what was happening to me. This mark, this mark here, I did not do that. That has been there since the gun was new. So I'm gonna pull this back, and all I'm doing is pulling this back enough to where I can just start this and get it behind that latch. So I'm just going to get it back behind that latch. So that's why I said it. You want to actually start the punch so that when the punch compresses it all the way, it's leaving room. It's hard to do this and try and film at the same time, but that's leaving room for this thing to slide in. Now, I mean, typically, you shouldn't have to do this. Okay, I got it. Shouldn't have to do this a whole lot. You know, I mean, what are you going to do this? Maybe one or two times. Okay, so I got that thing, so it's stuck behind there, and now it's just going to click down. That's it. That thing's captive. It's good to go. So now we are completely disassembled and all but reassembled. So we'll go ahead and we'll cock that again. Drop our slide down on top. Pull our takedown pin back in, and we've got a fully functional Smith and Wesson CSX. Guys, it's been a pleasure. If you liked the video, I'll catch you in the next one.